This is Lucy, your clarity coach, and this is Tuesday Talks at 3. Welcome to the Negotiation Mastery series. Every day we are faced with instances of decision making, and this goes hand in hand with negotiation for what works. So whether you are looking at your friends and families, whether you're looking at where you work, whether you're looking in your fellowship areas, we find ourselves in situations of decision making all the time, and therefore negotiation needs to happen. This series explores four areas to help you in this negotiation process in both your personal and your professional lives. So I hope that the first three sessions, or rather the first two sessions, have been impactful and you've been able to take away things that you are plugging and playing. As I promised you in episode 1, all these tips, all these nuggets are all plug and play. It's not that you have to go and research more, read a bit more, go and reflect on it. You can actually, even as we are doing this session, begin to plug and play in any situation where you need to make a decision, because decision making happens every instance of our lives. Even when you're not taking a decision, you have actually taken a decision. So to set us off in episode 1 was the key principles, and we looked at 3 key principles to be able to help us understand effective negotiation. The first one that I can never overstate is research. You need to be able to understand why you're coming to the table. Avoid coming blind to a table. What is it that you're coming to negotiate about? What is it that this other person is seeking to get from this table? These are 2 important aspects that need to play hand in hand, and you are the constant person here, so do your research. I know you cannot do enough research, but start off with finding out the whys. That's what you come to the table with. You most probably will learn more at the table, but you'll be ready to receive it because of the research that you have done. This removes the element of emotions. When emotions are involved, they can get very hot and heavy. When they are involved, it actually hampers the process of negotiation. What we need is more of a sober and structured approach to this table. So that was the first one. The second one was confirming understanding. Because even as somebody is speaking at the table and they are sharing their thoughts, and you are taking it in, you're listening, and you're seeking to understand, the only way you can confirm your understanding is by asking a question. You said this, Lucy, and this is what I understood. What did you mean by it? You are seeking to understand so that there's no ambiguity. Whatever perceptions are coming to the table, we all understand what they are at this point. And last but not least was remaining flexible, because even though you have done your research, even though you have confirmed your understanding, there most probably is going to become a spanner in the wheels. And when that happens, where does that leave you? You can be very frazzled, or you can choose to remain flexible, calm, cool, collected at the negotiation table. The minute you start feeling that your emotions are getting involved, you want to call a timeout. You want to step away. Perhaps you want to meditate where you are, drink some water, or do some exercises that I've always shared here that will help you come to that moment. One of them is breathing. Nobody knows that you're actually doing it. But if you breathe in and out, ever so slowly, in even longer than the previous one, and exhale, and the last one, just inhale a very long one, and calm down as you exhale, you find that whatever emotion that you were experiencing begins to shift. It begins to take backstage. This is you getting your control back. We then moved on to episode 2 on the power of influence. And with the power of influence, we wanted to look at developing some skills for a positive outcome, which is very key. The minute we are going in for negotiations, we are hoping, we are trusting, in fact, for a positive outcome. But that means it's not going just to happen just out of magic. You need to influence what is happening on the table. And in influencing, we looked at figuring out what the real need is. And why do I say this? Anytime that you express yourself the first time, it's really not the need, the core need that you're expressing. That's the superficial need that you're expressing. And you want to go back to that episode where I gave the example of a child who said they were sick and they couldn't go to school, or rather, they didn't want to go to school. That was the presenting factor. The underlying factor was something else. The presenting factor, they're ill. The underlying factor is the one we are looking for at this negotiation table, because now you're negotiating with this child to go to school or not go to school. So that identifying of the core need is something important that you need to do. So-and-so has said this is what they want, and this is what they're bringing to the table, their desires, their goals, whatever outcome they want. You want to ask further questions, open-ended and closed questions as appropriately as you can to identify what the core need is. Because if you do not identify the core need, we could be here until the cows come home. But the minute that you understand that this is the reason why they want this outcome, it could be that they're just looking for prosperity. And now that you know that, then your negotiation influence is going to be around addressing the prosperity. It could be about importance. It could be about connection. It could be about variety. You need to understand this because you want a positive outcome. So it's key with what it is that you're going to be doing. Then self-regulation. That was where emotional intelligence came in. It's just so amazing that emotional intelligence has got 5 pillars. And each pillar is so profound. But in this instance, we were talking about the second one. That means we are recognizing that emotions will be driven high, or they will be driven to a point where no emotions are brought to the table. Whatever it is, we need to self-regulate. It is unfortunate that as we speak now in our country, Kenya, a young man shot a magistrate because of the emotions that overtook him at that point. In his rational brain, I want to believe in his rational brain today, he's already figuring out so many other ways he could have done what he did to achieve the outcome that he was looking for. But what came in between that was his emotions. He allowed his emotions to get the better of him. This is where that second pillar of emotional intelligence comes in, self-regulation. And that is how you bring influence to the table. Being able to self-regulate. So you're feeling hot and heavy and whatever this other person is saying or presenting, you just feel like it's rising. Take a moment and self-regulate. I have an emotional intelligence program that I take you through, and I'll be happy to give you information if you just drop me a direct message here. And then we finish off with creating a safe space for dialogue. When it is a safe space, everybody, including you, feels safe to share, safe to say. I mean, what's coming to mind now is that worldwide statement that whatever happens in Vegas remains in Vegas. Because then you're told that in Vegas, whatever happens and it remains there, it's a safe space for you to do what it is that you perceive you want to do. Bring that same mentality to the negotiation table. Make it a safe space for dialogue. That whatever is discussed, whatever is experienced here remains here. Because we're going to walk out with the outcome. Not exactly what happened in here. We're going to walk out explaining how it made us feel. Not exactly what happened in here. I hope that is sending a message home. And these are things you already were able to plug and play. Well, today it's all about the assertive self. And it is about utilizing assertiveness at the negotiation table. So it is about assertiveness of self. It's very key to say what it is that you want to say. Hence, is it to say or not to say, to speak or not to speak? And I hope at the end of our session today, you will be able to have 3 things that you can plug and play. If not all 3, at least 1 or maybe 2. My hope is that all the 3 that we're going to look at today are things that you can plug and play immediately. And then our last session is going to be on solutions. Solutions for the negotiation table. Whether it is win-win, whether it is win-lose, whether it is a stalemate, these are solutions in your personal and your professional life. Well, like any other episode, our question today is, what does assertiveness look like for you? What does assertiveness look like for you? I just want to recognize Nancy here. Thank you so much for joining. First Lady Marwa. Whoa, Ruthie, it's so good to see you, Ruth. Good to see you here, Grace. This is a great pleasure to see you here, Grace. And then we have Pauline Msalame. Today I'm just having blasts from the past, and I want to appreciate each and every one of you. May you take away at least one thing that you can plug and play in the to speak or not to speak. So why don't we just jump in and look at the role of assertiveness. You see, assertiveness is about expressing your needs and desires. It's about expressing what it is that you want, your objectives, because they're all valid and they're valid to you because you know. It's about expressing them confidently and respectfully. Confidently in that as you're expressing them, anybody watching you or listening to your body language, your words, your different facial formations is saying like, this person knows what it is that they want. You most probably are struggling on the inside to be able to articulate them, but you have purpose that it is important that at this table right now, my desires or my needs are seen and understood. And it is important, as I said it before, that you're aware of emotions. You might be so overtaken by the fear, the emotion of fear that you're going through when you're expressing, that your heart begins to race. You begin to break out into a sweat. You begin to mumble your words and you start to see all these triggers in you. And then you react in a way that is not respectful. You start to shout, yet the people are seated next to you. You start to pace around the room and raising the temperature of the room. And you don't need this. You just need to be seated and expressing your needs and desires. It is easier said than done. But once you begin to practice this, that you're walking into a session knowing that you have a rightful place there to express your needs and desires, whether it is your place of work, whether it is at your entrepreneurship place, whether it is with your family and friends. You have expressed it. You have told us exactly what it is that you wish in a confident and respectful manner. People are most likely to listen to you than as opposed to you shouting, pacing the room, Somebody checks out, they're already on their phone. Maybe they want to go and take a toilet break. Suddenly you find you're losing audience. Nobody's maintaining eye contact with you. You're getting even more agitated. That is the role of assertiveness. But there is the opportunity for you to express what you're looking for. Let's look at an example. If you're looking perhaps at a project deadline with a colleague, and this colleague is a one person perhaps who's giving you a bit of problems on timelines or understanding or maybe just making a decision, and you say to them that you need this project done within a certain time and the reason why. Let's look for a specific statement. Perhaps you're saying, I need 2 weeks to complete this task and to ensure quality. I need 2 weeks to complete this task to ensure quality. What you've just done is clearly articulated what you need. Tomorrow, anybody who was in that room can come and say, but Lucy, you said that you needed 2 weeks to ensure quality. And so we're giving you time for those 2 weeks. It's only 1 week gone. You see, you have clearly articulated your needs. Therefore, you have to believe what you're saying. That story that you're telling cannot be for other people's sake because you're the one who's going to execute it. How about with family and friends if there's a function and you say, I'm available for the get-together. You've articulated your availability. I'm available for the get-together and will need prior confirmation 5 days in advance. So you've actually gone ahead and qualified that you are available, but you need 5 days notice. Or perhaps you're communicating that people need to confirm 5 days in advance. Whatever it is, you have communicated what your needs and desires are. No one then in that room can say, but Lucy was not clear. You're very clear. You see, this sets clear expectations without sounding aggressive. You don't need to shout. Express what it is you're saying. And with the etiquette of conversations, one person needs to speak at a time. So when you are speaking, everybody else should be quiet and listening. And when other people are speaking, so you should be quiet too. This way we are respecting the etiquette of conversation. So clearly articulating what you want is important. Standing firm on key issues comes next. So you've articulated devoid of emotions. You are now coming from a point of soberness, cognitive recognition, but now we are dealing with facts. We need to stand firm on issues. There could be issues that are directly impacting your values because this is who you are. You're standing firm on them without aggression. How many times have you walked into a room and you're part of negotiation? Or maybe it is you who does this. And you find that somebody is being aggressive and it is my way or the highway. And then somebody else comes, doesn't raise their voice, is very specific about what they're looking for, has expressed how they would wish this meeting to go in whatever format. And then they finish off by summarizing what was said. But then there's this other person on this side who's going crazy. Who are you most likely to listen to? I hope your answer is the cool, calm, and collected one. And this is how you should be. Because this is how you're communicating, and it is key. Just balancing assertiveness with respect for the other party is key. You want to be respected. Why don't you start by respecting the others? So how does assertiveness then contribute to successful negotiations? It leads to more balanced outcomes. It's as simple as that. Because now we can all hear each other, we can all see each other, we're able to understand the things on the table. We have sought a deeper understanding as to what people are saying. We've self-regulated our emotions. You walk out of there feeling that, yes, whoa, that person was assertive, and so was I. At least we both know what we want. And therein lies that point for having an open dialogue. But what does assertiveness look like for you? Maybe you could share here with me, and I can see there's one more person who's joined. I don't know how to pronounce your name, so I'm going to try. It's Taputani. Taputani, welcome. Today we're talking about the assertive self in negotiation. And we've just defined assertiveness is that it is expressing your needs and desires confidently and respectfully. It is key for us to continue. The next one that we're looking at is practicing empathy. And I know we looked at this in our second episode of Influence, where we looked at emotional intelligence and the 5 pillars. However, in those 5 pillars, we looked at self-regulation of your emotions. Right now, we're bringing in the aspect of empathy. You see, empathy allows you to understand and validate the other person's position, their feelings and their needs. And many a time we walk in and we are so agitated, overwhelmed, but mostly fearful that if I don't get in what I want, the other person is going to speak ahead of me. Well, since everybody is going to have a turn to speak, because this is the etiquette of conversation, we are all going to have a chance to say and expressly articulate what we want out of this meeting. So when you walk in and you're feeling agitated and you want to just speak ahead of everybody else, what you're doing is setting yourself up for a fall, because from there you can only spiral down. But if you walk in calmly and try to understand where the other person is coming from, by the time it comes around the table to your turn, you're cool, calm, and collected as you share what it is you have come to share and what you hope as an outcome. I mean, let's look just at that team member again, the example that I gave in the beginning of the project, and maybe there's a change in this project. You may say, I understand that this change is challenging. This way, you're showing empathy. You are being so clear on what it is that this other person wants. So you're actually acknowledging that they're finding it challenging. Already, if somebody said to me that, I understand this change is challenging for you, There's an assumption here that I did say and expressly say, but this is challenging, this is hard for me, I can't do this. But the fact that they've taken that and put it into a statement to me already calms me down. So maybe you may say that to them, you appreciate the change is challenging, and you actually further appreciate their flexibility. This way it shows that not only are you acknowledging their concerns, but you're showing that you're there, you're listening. I'm here, talk to me. I'm here in this room with you. And this builds trust and fosters deeper trust. It opens up a path for finding solutions, because then I feel heard. I can see here Taputani says, hi Lucy, sorry I cannot text much, on the road and listening with my phone. Such good information so far. Thank you so much, Taputani. Great to have you here. So we're looking also at the example of friends and family. Remember the event we're talking about, the get together? You could actually be looking at one person who is indecisive in the group. We've all decided on a date. We've all decided what we're going to be doing, what we're bringing, maybe what our dress code is. But there's one individual who seems to be indecisive. We've not even gone down to understand their core needs, but their presenting need is that they're not ready to make a decision. So they're just indecisive. By you giving them these options, it shows that you are flexible. And you're giving them time to find their footing, time to find their flow. And this is key, because the minute that you do that, it makes you understand where they're coming from, and it builds trust and rapport. How does trust and rapport make you feel? I'm very sure that it makes you feel heard and listened to. Nancy says, as it stands, I find myself settling with decisions that have been made by others in order to avoid heated discussions. How should I become more assertive? That's a very good question, Nancy. And I will take you back to the first part where we talked about the role of assertiveness. You need to express your needs and desires confidently and respectively. Respectfully, not respectively, respectfully. Because once you do that and you've laid down what it is you're looking for, there's no doubt in anybody's mind what you are hoping to achieve by the end of this meeting. Avoidance does not help you. In fact, my question to you is, how has this served you? How has avoidance served you? And if we move on to the second part of your question, or your statement of heated discussions, we're going back to self-regulation. And the example that I gave of the young man who shot the magistrate, who unfortunately today is being buried here in Nairobi. Because he did not regulate his emotions, he allowed his emotions to get the better of him. The decision that he made, he will pay for the rest of his life. So that's on him. It's not on you. What are you going to do with the decision that you're making for yourself of avoidance? Because how is avoidance serving you? What then were you doing in that meeting of negotiation? You had no business being there. So how should I become more assertive? By being open and clear about what your need is. Clearly articulating your needs and expectations. Standing firm on key issues without aggression. You don't need to rise to their temperament. Balancing your assertiveness with respect for the other party. That's all you need to do. But you need to practice it. This is theoretical until you put it down into practice. Thank you so much for that question. I really appreciate it. It brings us into a deeper understanding of the practicalities when it comes to negotiation. Avoidance is not an option because it doesn't serve us well. It may serve us in that instance, but in the long run, it is not sustainable. So we're talking about practicing empathy and building trust and rapport, because this facilitates a mutual beneficial solution. When you feel that somebody is trustworthy, you're more likely to give them more airtime, listen to them longer, even ask them questions, even be vulnerable with them. But the reverse is also true. When you display or demonstrate trustworthy behaviors, people then lean into you, want to share more with you. They trust you. And in this way, fostering trust and creating a more collaborative environment. So let's not forget the question for today. What does assertiveness look like for you? So I'd be very happy to hear from you, Nancy, what assertiveness looks like for you now that we've shared this. And Taputani also, what does assertiveness look like for you? I know that you are commuting right now, so you're unable to text. But when you do stop commuting, it comes to an end, drop us a message, because I'll post this onto my feed and you will be able to interact with me. Last but not least now is the sweet spot. The sweet spot, the middle ground of assertiveness and empathy is key. This balancing of assertiveness and empathy allows us to not only state our position, as assertiveness would suggest, but also empathetically step into the person's shoes. So this involves you taking time to understand, to seek to understand, but not losing your footing. Because at times we can seek to understand and then we totally lose ourselves in the understanding of somebody else. And we move from being empathetic to sympathetic, and now we're not getting anywhere. We need to stay firm with what it is we believe to be right, such that if there needs to be a change to the narrative, if we are learning something new, we know when that shift happens. So stay firm on what it is that you're doing. Let's look at the example of the project. And now that we're talking about a middle ground, I need 2 weeks to complete this task to ensure quality. I understand the change is challenging, but I appreciate your flexibility. And here comes now the balance. And I am open to discussing a solution that aligns with both our goals. I am open to discussing a solution that aligns with both our goals. Do you see what just happened there? First, you've put down your desires and your goals. Then you have recognized the concerns that the other party has, all in one sentence, and you have appreciated them. Then you've opened it up to dialogue, a safe space, where you're saying, I'm open to discuss a solution that aligns with both our goals. Because we both have goals. Remember, we came in here and in an assertive way, we articulated our goals. We did that in the beginning, if you remember well. This approach not only respects your needs, but also respects the needs of the other person. And when that happens, collaboration takes place. Because now we try to see, because we are merging it, we're looking for a middle ground. How can this work? We begin to step into somebody else's shoes as they step into our shoes and seeking to understand. And this way, we are more likely to have a positive outcome that is sustainable. When you assert your needs and acknowledge somebody else's concerns, that's what you're doing. When you use empathetic listening, you're going deeper, you're going beyond you and understanding another person's perspective. That is growth, that is maturity, that is wisdom. We are no longer children, we are adults, and we need to act like adults and have a conversation. During my time growing up, there was a Kofi Annan situation. And this is what this man did. Kofi Annan looked for the middle ground. He encouraged us to wear the other person's shoes and come to the table and look for a sustainable solution. That was Kofi Annan for you. We are seeking win-win solutions throughout this project that we are doing, throughout this get-together that we are putting together. Whatever environment that you're in, we are seeking a win-win solution. And we are using understanding and compromise at this point. That is the middle ground. When we create this kind of space where both parties feel heard and respected, we are more likely to come out with a positive outcome. There may not be a right or wrong answer. There might not be a winner or a loser. But they definitely will be a win-win situation because I remember how this particular negotiation made me feel. And I remember that you sat across the table from me. Now that is sustainable. That goes a long way. Next time somebody is getting into a situation, I'm going to say, look for this person. And when somebody asks, why are we looking for that person? They respected me across the table. I felt heard. Perhaps I didn't walk away with the outcome I came in for, but the way they made me feel was special, next to none. Most importantly, I felt heard. I felt seen. And I'm happy to get back to that table again. Well, in conclusion, the question today was, what does assertiveness look like for you? And when we looked at the definition of assertiveness, it ensures that your needs and boundaries are respected. When we looked at empathy, it allows you to understand and relate to the other party's perspective. And when we look at the balance, what does it do? It leads to negotiations where both parties feel heard and respected. And this increases the likelihood of agreements reaching a satisfying outcome for both of everybody at that table, or for both of us. This is what we have been discussing today, and I always leave you with 3 takeaways. So my 3 takeaways today are actually quite simple. It's what we've been talking about. Clearly articulating your needs and expectations. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to do this because you are avoiding heated discussions, because it doesn't serve you well. You go back asking yourself, what could I have done better? Or you go back being a victim. And that doesn't serve you well at all. You'll be so surprised when you place your desires at the table in a respectful manner, in a confident manner. You'll be so surprised what the outcome is. Maybe this other person just needed to hear this. The second one is intentionally building trust and rapport. Making sure that people can trust you, that you can trust others, and the whole process can be trusted is key. Otherwise, what are we here for if we cannot trust one another? We are building up on the trust and rapport, and hopefully we will continue to build up on it, but it does not break. And the last takeaway was seeking win-win solutions through understanding and compromise. Thank you so much for joining me today. The time is up. It was all about assertive self, utilizing assertiveness and empathy in negotiations. I hope those nuggets have dropped in. It's plug and play. At least you can use one of those things there. Well, the recording of this episode will be available on my YouTube channel by this evening. Hop on there, hit the subscription button. And I ask you to do this because I can see that you are here week after week. You are getting something. Let somebody else also benefit from it. Hit the notification button so that if you do miss this live, you're able to know once I have posted it on YouTube. Our social media platforms continue to inspire and educate you. Find us here on Instagram and on Facebook as Lucy_your Clarity Coach, on LinkedIn as Lucy Macridis, on TikTok as Clarity Coach Lucy. Now, June is Father's Month, and in honor of my father, Mzee Daniel Cromwell Mutua Makumbi, who's been gone 33 years now, but whose memory still lives on in me every single day, even on the negotiation table, I interviewed 3 dads. And that was in honor of my father. And with these 3 dads, on 3 separate occasions, we talked about their roles, their responsibilities, and their values. Did you miss those lives? If you did, the recordings are here on Instagram Live. Listen to them. Share with me what your take is. And tell me if you'd like to hear more of such topics with fathers so that we can see how fathers are important to us and to the society. I look forward to our next Tuesday Talks at 3, which is going to be on solutions in negotiations. Solutions in negotiations. Let us help build one another. And until then, Roseanne, this is for you. Be kind to yourselves. Bye-bye now.